right, it was a rough day on the markets, and of course we've been facing a rolling blackouts. Those continue, but let's see if we can find any good news in this. Despite the rolling blackouts, South Africa has in fact made strides in electrifying households in informal and rural areas. This has been confirmed by the annual reports of Eskom. The power utility continues to implement stage 3 and stage 4 load shedding. To discuss, we're now joined by SABC News Economics Editor Tshepo Mongoai. Great to have you with us every Monday as usual. Let's look at some of the things affected by the rolling blackouts. The original plan around attempting to reach people without power, basically. What are you seeing?
Well, as you indicated in your intro, Eskom has made strides in terms of electrifying households for the past, since 1994. Now we're talking about 6 million households that have been electrified. But we are starting to see, gaps in terms of that momentum being maintained, and it's largely because of electricity constraints that we are seeing at the moment. People, new projects. I mean, you've seen the GDP numbers, gross fixed capital formation. It's still lagging, and one wonders some of the reasons why companies are not investing, especially in bricks and mortar, because those projects must be approved by Eskom or local electricity authorities to ensure that there's enough capacity to supply and power those projects. And clearly there isn't. There are informal residents or areas that have been converted, and now they are formal, especially in South Africa, in Gauteng, where we know that there is a lot of inward movement. Now, it's taking longer for those people to be connected to the grid. In fact, I was speaking to some of them who were telling me that there was a proposal on the table that they are going to be billed in 3 options. The 200 rand for lights, and then 450 for lights and using a television, and 600 rand for using some of the appliances in the house. But that is probably going to take longer because they don't have enough capacity to supply those houses.
So that's a great plan to give people an exact idea of how much to budget for power every month. It'll be a stable fixed figure. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. It's something that people will know how much they are paying for. But remember, it would give them limited use. For 200 rand using lights and charging a cell phone, and we know that people have appliances. So how are you gonna close that gap? Are they gonna go to their neighbors or what? And then 600 rand a month. Of course, they can be able to budget. They can be able to know how much they're gonna pay at the end of the month. But we still have a problem of illegal connection, and that is still a big problem. That you still find that some of the problems we are facing, it's simply because of that, which has become more of a political issue than actually an operational issue that has not been addressed adequately.
So that's an interesting plan. Overall, what you're saying is the plan to add more lights, probably you suspect has been severely delayed by what we're seeing now, Eskom just trying to keep the current lights on. How are we doing? How would we be doing in terms of electrifying new areas if we didn't have rolling blackouts? How's it looking countrywide?
Let's start with the budget. National Treasury cut the integrated electrification program by almost half. It was about 3 billion rand, is currently 1.5 billion rand. The money is allocated to Eskom to ensure that they spend for new electrification, and also municipalities, they get a share of that funding. So what we have seen is that Eskom has been reducing the number of households that are connected to the grid, and the number is coming down gradually. I think last year it was just over 101,000, and we were at over 200,000 annually at some point.
So halving.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they say the reason is because they are not receiving enough money from the fiscus. But we know that in addition, they have also been experiencing some serious challenges, like, for example, maintenance because of illegal connections. They've been spending a lot of money on that. And one wonders if some of the monies are not diverted.
So let's end there. I mean, you're following Eskom. What's the latest? What is the economics team looking at?
There are several issues that have been raised with regard to the board, that perhaps, there might be some shake-up with regarding to the board. So we're watching that space very closely to see if there will be any changes, but we know that something is happening. We're not sure exactly what, but there will be an announcement very soon that we're keeping a close eye on.
And the concern has always been that you need the right skills in the board members to oversee Eskom.
Yeah, that's the reason that has been advanced. But I mean, the question is, one wonders to what extent is the current CEO on board with the rest of the staff? Remember, it's often a difficult job as a CEO to make sure that the whole organization in terms of workers rally behind your vision.
Yes.
And you gotta find a way. It's always a fine balancing act, but it's important that there is some buy-in in terms of what you're trying to do. And if that is missing, and workers are just there and they feel like just the tools to implement the vision that they don't share, you would often have some serious challenges. I'm not saying that it's not happening, but one wonders if there is ownership in terms of the vision that the CEO has for the company.
All right, so board issues, worker issues, please follow that for us, and thanks for the update. Tshepo Mongoai, SABC News Economics Editor.